This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dana Kozlov.
And I'm Adrena Sinclair. Great to be with you this morning. Now at 9, flames ripped through an apartment in Chicago's Woodlawn neighborhood. And this morning, we're learning the damage was severe enough to force several people out of their homes.
And Skokie declaring a state of emergency after last week's water main break. We are learning more about what could have caused it and how residents are trying to recover.
And as we take a live look outside, interesting shot here over near View Pier. We got some nice hues going on there. And we are slowly inching our way to more warmer weather a little bit. Keyword slowly.
Yeah, there was ice. I mean, there was like a sheet of ice, too.
I feel weird saying the word warming up.
Yeah,
I know.
We'll take what we can get, though,
Yeah,
Laura.
every little degree. And today we're going up 1 degree compared to yesterday.
Yay.
Yay, yay for that 1 degree. We do have a cold weather advisory still in place until 10 o'clock this morning. That's covering our far north and west counties this morning. And here's why, because we do have those wind chills as low as -10, -12 DeKalb, -10 Aurora. We're at -4 at both airports at O'Hare and Midway. Rest of the day today above 0 for those wind chills, so an improvement even in that department, though winds will stay on the breezy side through the rest of the day and going into tonight. So it's almost going right back to where we started. We at least have a couple more frigid nights before things really start improving out there. 15 for the high today, 23 on Thursday, Friday a high of 26 degrees. So even as we get into those 20s, you're really going to feel the change up in the temperature department. But just wait till you see that weekend forecast. We're definitely talking about some winter heat.
A real
Can I say that? Yeah, a real one. Yeah, you'll definitely notice it.
Well, that
heat,
would be,
what's that?
That would be fantastic. All right, Laura, thank you. Now we want to get to our nonstop news. Several people are now staying with family and friends after their apartment building went up in flames early this morning. This happened in the Woodlawn neighborhood on Woodlawn near Marquette. Chicago Fire tells us the building was being rehabbed, but luckily nobody was in those units where the fire was concentrated. The tenants on the other side got out safely.
And 3 people shot in the West Pullman neighborhood. And here at the scene, we saw several bullet holes in a car window where police were investigating around 9 last night. When officers pulled up here to the scene at 116th near Prairie, they found 2 men and a woman lying on the sidewalk there. They'd all been shot and were taken to the hospital. They are expected to survive.
And Chicago police are searching for the person who shot a man in the head. It happened just before 10 last night near 18th and Avers. When they got to the scene, officers found the 18-year-old victim on the ground. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital in critical condition.
And a state of emergency has now been declared for the village of Skokie after this water main break flooded neighborhoods, impacting thousands of people there.
Darius Johnson is here in the studio with us with more on the frustrations that residents shared during last night's village meeting. Darius.
Hey there, ladies. Good morning to you. I want you all to take a look at that image right there in the corner. It just shows part of the terror that many people experienced at last night's meeting. They were emotional, not only about what they lost, but what they felt could have been done better. Take a look. That break happened on Friday morning. That water turned streets into rivers, encased cars and homes in ice, and left thousands of people without water for days. Officials say a fitting cap on a water main installed in the 1960s failed when it should have lasted 80 to 100 years. Last night, neighbors packed a village meeting, some accusing leaders of not doing enough in the critical hours after the incident.
It wasn't until about noon that I decided, after trying to get to my wife's car in knee-deep ice water, I gotta find people, because we lost a lot of personal mementos, pictures.
Now, they have declared a state of emergency there in the village of Skokie, and that's just the first step when it comes to applying for state and county disaster funds, which is why the village is asking residents to go ahead and get in contact with their insurance companies. Ladies, they are also asking them to submit photos and documentation, really speaking to some of the things that they may have lost, because all of that will be important in order to get that disaster relief.
This is going to be a long process. All right, Darius, thank you for those updates.
And an investigation is underway into a deadly house fire in Naperville. The fire chief says a person was trapped on the 2nd floor when they arrived yesterday afternoon at this home on Red Wing Court. Crews tried to reach the person from both inside and outside of the home, but they say the inside stairs had collapsed and heavy fire was coming out of all of the 2nd floor windows. That person did not survive. Another person was injured. 5 people are now displaced.
Investigators have now recovered the black boxes from the Delta Airlines plane that crashed in Toronto.
They're the voice and data recorders on the jet, and they could give answers into what happened.
Hopefully, the plane that skidded down the tarmac and flipped upside down is still right there on the ground where it landed in the same position, and it could be there until Friday while investigators look for any evidence to point out what went wrong here. Passengers describe hearing the scraping of metal on the concrete.
It happens so quickly, right? There's this like giant like pop crack, it's this like super loud bang. Everybody was just like, get out, get out, get out. We could smell like jet fuel.
Wow. Of the 21 people who were hurt in the crash, 2 are still in the hospital, and we're told they have non-life-threatening injuries. Meanwhile, a Chicago-based law firm is suing the government after that deadly midair crash in Washington, D.C. last month. They're representing the widow of a man who was killed when that American Airlines plane and Blackhawk helicopter collided and killed everyone on board. The wife of Casey Crafton now has to raise their 3 young sons by herself. Their lawyer tells us Crafton coached his son's Little League soccer and baseball teams, and he was coming back from Wichita on a business trip. Lawyers filed $250 million in pre-case claims against several agencies, including the FAA and the U.S. Army.
The passenger families on that aircraft demand justice, they demand answers, and they demand accountability, and they're entitled to that.
Now, if the government does not respond within 6 months, then the family can file federal lawsuits in the next 2 years.
President Donald Trump and Elon Musk gave their first joint interview since the inauguration. They defended their sweeping efforts to slash spending and reduce the federal workforce. The interview on Fox News Channel's Hannity aired hours after a federal judge in D.C. denied a request from 14 Democratic-led states to block Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from accessing data systems and firing workers at 7 government agencies. The judge called Doge's actions, quote, unpredictable, but added that she couldn't restrain the work without, quote, clear evidence of imminent irreparable harm.
Who's going to answer the phone? My phone is going to be ringing and no one's going to be there.
Meanwhile, yesterday, federal workers protested firings at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Midwest office. You just heard from Nyla McCraney, who says she moved to Chicago in November for her dream job as a physical scientist. She handled calls directly from the community about things like drinking water issues and soil contamination. On Friday, she was one of almost 400 probationary employees fired. Now, these workers respond to emergencies like the Flint, Michigan water crisis and the train derailment in East Palestine. And today, faculty from Chicago area universities are protesting federal cuts to research. An hour from now, professors from the University of Chicago, DePaul, and Northwestern will gather at UIC. They say UIC is a hub for groundbreaking research, medical advancements, and workforce training for students. They say without funding from the Department of Health and Human Services, community health will suffer. And we are learning federal cuts are affecting legal aid workers for undocumented children of migrants, including hundreds of kids right here in the Chicago area. 500 unaccompanied migrant children currently live across Chicago and Northwest Indiana. The Trump administration just cut all federal dollars providing legal assistance for these migrants. Among the organizations impacted, the National Immigrant Justice Center. It plans to fight the funding change in court to make sure its lawyers can still help kids caught in the middle.
Taking lawyers away is a very effective way to ensure that children will fail in court and that they will be promptly deported to the conditions that they fled.
CBS News has also learned that the Trump administration is working to access private taxpayer data, which they say is to find undocumented immigrants collecting any benefits.
We know good credit score, often the first step to securing an apartment or a loan.
Next in Money Watch, we are talking about ways to improve your number. Plus an update on that trip of a lifetime for 3 young heart patients. Now their spring training experience with the Cubs is going.
All right, we're watching our temperatures go up for the rest of the week. Today, a high of 15. We're going into the 30s and 40s by the later part of the week. We'll track those warming temperatures in your first look forecast.
Welcome back. 3 Advocate All-Stars are getting the VIP treatment from the Cubs at spring training. 9-year-old Gerald, 10-year-old Patricio, and 15-year-old Mary Alice are all heart patients at Advocate Children's Hospital, and they had so much fun with a special welcome dinner with Cubs players Matt Shaw, Jack Neely, Ben Cowles, and Gage Workman playing games with them and also giving them some swag as well. Got a good Jenga game going. The kids are spending the next 3 days in Arizona with their families enjoying Cubs spring training games. Love to see that. Well, if you've ever borrowed money, you know that lenders focus a lot on your credit score.
And today we are sharing some ways to clean up or build your credit. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us now with some specific steps to take. Good morning, Jill. First, how are credit scores used and why are they so important?
You know, a score is derived from a separate report, a credit report, and the report will detail your payment history. The point of all of this is to help a lender measure your ability to repay a loan and honor your financial commitments. So obviously, the higher the score, the lower the interest rate you might be charged on everything from a home mortgage, a car loan, or even a credit card. But of course, credit reports can be used in other circumstances. In some cases, a landlord can use it as a background check. A future employer might be able to use it if you're involved in a sensitive or security job. So you really have to make sure that this information is correct and that that score is as high as possible.
And let's do a little recap. What is considered nowadays a good credit score?
You know, there are a lot of different scores out there. The dominant one has always been FICO, the Fair Isaac Corporation, and their score ranges from 300 up to 850. Right now, the national average is 717. It's actually higher than the pre-pandemic reading of 706. FICO says that a score of 740 to 799 is very good. Anything over 800 is considered exceptional. So you're going to get probably better rates if your score is above that 740 level.
Okay, if your score has dropped, though, or it's low, what is the best way to improve it?
The FICO score is based on 5 broad categories. It's your payment history, the total amount of money you owe, the length of your credit history, new credit that you're applying for, and the mix of credit, whether it's an installment loan, like a student loan, or it's variable, like a credit card. So what is the best way to improve your score? It's an easy one. Pay your bills on time. That's why you should consider enrolling in an automatic plan through your credit card or loan provider. You want to have payments automatically debited from your bank account, and that way you'll avoid being late, and that should help beef up the score. Also remember, every time you're reducing the amount of debt you owe, you're helping your score. Keeping those balances low on credit cards will help. And don't apply for new credit unless you really have to. In other words, when you're checking out at the department store and they say 10% off if you apply for a new credit card today, don't do it, because that will push down your score. And finally, just don't close out those old accounts with the department stores. Throw the card in the back of your drawer. Don't use them. Every time you close an account, it can negatively impact your credit score.
All right, they always get you at the checkout counter. Jill, I'm going to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yes, they do.
Gosh, those 10% discounts. Good. You can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings for more money tips. 9:18 now, turning to Laura for our first alert weather and this little bit of increase in temperature. Yeah,
not much, at least over the next 24 hours, but we'll eventually see a sharp improvement with those temperatures as this Arctic air eventually retreats. But we're locked in the smack dab middle of it through today, still tomorrow, but later in the weekend into your weekend is when all that intense air gets out of here. And as it lifts, we do have at least some milder air that will be filtered in. So temperatures are expected to climb rapidly throughout the weekend. Next week, we're sitting with temperatures that are above the norm, sitting in the 40s. We've got 44 for both Monday and Tuesday. Sounds great at the rate that we're going, especially here this morning. We have actual air temperatures, single digits, Kankakee hanging out at 10 degrees there, with a wind chill though at -3. Feels like it's -4, Midway, O'Hare, -5, Valparaiso, -10, Waukegan and Aurora. Those two counties out there under a cold weather advisory for the next 40 minutes or so. But still, the cold is going to be lingering through the rest of the day. Now, as we look to the other side of the lake, we've got a winter weather advisory going into effect for some lake effect snow. A couple of inches of snow expected to pick up through the late day going into tomorrow. Most of the accumulations are expected to be across Berrien County, and that's likely going to be where we see the worst of the travel impacts. Even here this afternoon, as we do pull in a little bit of moisture, little snow activity, we could see some slick travel developing there in the late day. Otherwise, it's just cold. Tomorrow morning, it's right back where we started with frigid lows in the single digits and wind chill values back below zero. 15 degrees for the high today. Tonight, we're going all the way down to a low of 6 degrees. Clouds right now, clouds breaking into the overnight hours. We break out into some more sunshine throughout the rest of the week. Friday, sunny, a high of 26. We hit freezing with breezy conditions on Saturday, 38 on Sunday. And then we've got a string of 40-plus degree days for much of next week. So we're going to see a lot of snow melt getting way here this weekend. Starting Saturday, should be all gone by next week.
Love it.
Laura, thanks. Well, a not guilty verdict for rapper A$AP Rocky. We're looking at the emotional reaction in the courtroom. Plus, we dig into the jury's decision live with a legal expert. Welcome back. And breaking overnight, rapper A$AP Rocky will not be spending time in prison. He was accused of shooting a former friend back in 2021, but a jury in LA just found him not guilty yesterday.
Jared Hill takes us through the court case and more of Rocky's emotional reaction involving long-term partner Rihanna.
In an LA courtroom, a life-changing moment for one of hip-hop's brightest stars.
Rakim Mayers, not guilty.
Rapper A$AP Rocky, legal name Rakim Mayers, dove into the arms of his long-term girlfriend, mogul Rihanna, with whom he shares 2 children. The outpouring of emotion after a jury found Rocky not guilty on 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm.
This whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, but I'm thankful. Nonetheless, I'm thankful, and we're blessed to be here right now, to be a free man talking to y'all.
A$AP Rocky's attorney, Joe Tacopino.
They saw through this mirage of a case. We said from day one he was innocent.
The case goes back to November 6th of 2021. Rocky was accused of pulling a gun on childhood friend A$AP Relly, firing 2 rounds. Relly, full name Terrell Efron, appeared at times combative on the stand.
Trying to make me look like I got some type of animosity towards this dude. I don't. I never did.
Rocky's lawyers and witnesses said it was a prop gun that could only shoot blanks and that Rocky used it as a warning when Relly attacked another friend. While there is video of the incident, neither side ever produced a gun.
There was no way A$AP Rocky was going to be able to say that he didn't have a gun at all. So he argued that it was a fake gun, and he had members of his inner circle testify to the same.
A$AP Rocky would have faced 24 years in prison. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Joining us now is Megan Cuniff, a legal affairs reporter who's been following the case every step of the way. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
We really appreciate it. Thanks, Megan. Now, we just saw the reaction from the courtroom when he leapt into the arms of his girlfriend, Rihanna. There was lots of emotion there. Megan, was this the outcome, though, that you expected from this trial?
You know, no. I mean, just judging by the evidence and just looking at the jury and just looking at how deliberations went, generally when people are covering trials, like a fast turnaround like that could mean a guilty verdict, and not guilty verdicts can take longer. But Rocky had a lot of supporters that really thought there could be a fast not guilty verdict here. And there's also just another dynamic at play in here that you sometimes don't consider, and it had to do with the victim. And a juror actually mentioned the chain of evidence, and that some jurors had concerns about the chain of evidence, which I believe was a pretty clear reference to the fact that the victim had recovered the shell casings at the shooting scene himself. So I think those problems that were identified might have led to this. So I think a lot of people were not surprised by this.
And since some were not, or I guess you say were surprised, because you said you were surprised at this, anything else from jurors that we're hearing now that the case is over that's interesting?
I've seen one interview with a juror where she said that the majority were ready to acquit right away. She was one of the 3 people, it sounded like she identified, who had a lot of questions, and she said it took a lot of convincing for them. But she did say that everyone believed a crime was committed and that most did not believe that the gun was fake. So according to prosecutors, they should have convicted, but the jurors said that the actual evidence of the gun crimes just wasn't there, and that according to the jury instructions that they followed, they really did not feel like they could convict. And that, I think a lot of criminal defense attorneys would say that is the definition of a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, right. I know A$AP Rocky's had a really busy year. Not only is he scheduled to headline the Rolling Loud Music Festival, he's the celebrity co-chair of the Met Gala, and he has a new movie coming out with Denzel Washington. Is all of this behind him now, or do you see more fallout potentially from this case as he moves forward?
I think it's behind him. I don't think he's going to have any fallout from this. There are lawsuits. Relly does have a defamation and a lawsuit over the shooting that I think it still remains to be seen what exactly happens with that. Obviously, an acquittal for him is not good for Relly's stakes in the lawsuit, but that could remain to be seen here. But overall, Rocky's a free man, and he doesn't have anything to worry about here. I mean, those are just lawsuits.
All right, Megan Cuniff, legal affairs journalist, thanks for joining us on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next at 9:30, menopause and heart disease. A doctor joins us to explain the connection and how to reduce your risk.
Hey, good morning, ladies, from the Gold Coast and the brand new location of the Goddess and the Grocer. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we are going to be introducing you to the pastry chef here and showing you some of the delicious and customizable treats. Wouldn't you like to take a bite out of these bad boys? Yeah, we'll show you a lot more coming up after the break.
Chicago.
Good morning, I'm Audrina Sinclair.
And I'm Dana Kozlov. It is 9:30. Thanks so much for staying with us. Ahead this half hour, Chicago City Council scheduled to vote on the mayor's plan to use hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds to pay for city projects. We are digging into the proposal and why it is getting some pushback.
And temperatures are coming up a little bit, just a little today though. It's still cold. Laura's tracking some mild weather by the weekend though, so it might come just in time. Laura, let's start with that.
Yeah, I don't think we're really going to feel any noticeable changes, especially now that we've lost all the sunshine. We had that the past couple of days. Clouds have moved back in. We'll see a little flurry activity here in the afternoon, evening. Still have that cold weather advisory in effect for low wind chills this morning. It's another bitter start. Winds holding in from the northwest. Haven't really seen much of a change there, but we're routine 8, 9, 10 miles per hour. The impact feels like readings well below zero this morning in the double digits, especially off toward the north and west where that advisory is posted. Feels like it's -10 now, Waukegan. Rest of the day today, wind chills single digits, feeling as cold as 6 by the afternoon at Chicago O'Hare. Tomorrow in the afternoon is when I think we're really going to feel those changes. Going to 23 degrees. I know we're not putting up some big numbers just yet, but we do feel and we'll see those temperatures thawing out, especially by the weekend. So more on that weekend forecast when I return.
All right, Laura, thank you. Funeral arrangements begin tomorrow for Glenview officer Robert Frick. Visitation is set for 3 in the afternoon to 8 at night at the Gluckert Funeral Home in Arlington Heights. Friday, procession will go from the funeral home to Our Lady of Wayside Catholic Church, also in Arlington Heights. He will then be laid to rest. And just yesterday, the man charged with reckless homicide in Frick's death was ordered to stay in jail. Police say Christopher Lopez admitted to drinking before they say he drove across several lanes and crashed into Officer Robert Frick. It happened over the weekend, and a blood test shows his alcohol level was below the legal limit. Well, Chicago aldermen start their monthly meeting in about 30 minutes, and the biggest item on the agenda is a vote on Mayor Brandon Johnson's plan to issue more than $800 million in bonds.
But it's facing some pushback, especially with the threat of federal funding cuts. Marissa Perlman is in the newsroom with what we can expect to hear during this vote.
That's because it could end up being the taxpayer who's responsible for footing the bill for part of the mayor's plan. Now, the vote comes after months of a tense budget negotiation process here at City Hall. The money would pay for a year's worth of capital projects, but the Chicago Sun-Times reports it would cost the city $2 billion to repay it. Mayor Johnson's plan cleared the Chicago Finance Committee on Monday, but the mayor faces pushback about borrowing that much money as federal funding is now at risk. Now, his proposal comes at a time when Chicago's credit rating has been downgraded. If approved, the bond issue could lead to higher long-term costs for Chicago residents. Businesses in the city could face higher taxes and fees needed to cover that debt. The city council is set to take a final vote on the bond issue at this morning's meeting, but any two alderpersons can use a parliamentary maneuver to postpone the final vote, and they don't need a reason for the delay. Again, that meeting set to start here at 10. We'll bring you the latest as soon as that vote comes down. Reporting outside of City Hall, I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS News Chicago.
And at that city council meeting today, aldermen will vote on a $27 million settlement for the family of Angela Parks. Parks suffered a broken neck and severed spinal column after an SUV involved in a chase with Chicago police hit her while she was crossing the street. This happened in August of 2020, and that crash left this mother of 5 paralyzed, and she died 2 years later at the age of 45. Her attorney said the officer violated CPD policies by chasing the SUV in the first place. They also say the officer didn't use sirens. For the settlement, the city would pay $20 million, and then the remaining $7 million would come from the city's insurance. The council also voting on a $3.5 million settlement to a man who suffered a traumatic brain injury when a dead tree fell and hit him on the head. The Chicago Sun-Times report that tree was the subject of several calls that had been made to 311 previously. The incident happened in December of 2020 in Uptown while Nicholas Pellegrino was checking out his car battery.
Governor J.B. Pritzker will lay out his priorities for Illinois and address how we'll pay for them, all during today's State of the State address. Illinois is facing a $3 billion deficit. Federal COVID funding expired, and the funding freezes by the Trump administration complicate the state's budgeting process. You can watch the governor's State of the State address live at noon on our digital streaming network, CBS News Chicago. You'll find it at cbschicago.com or on the CBS News app on Fire TV and Roku. Mayor Brandon Johnson is preparing to go to Washington, D.C. in 2 weeks to defend Chicago's sanctuary city status. He'll join mayors from Boston, Denver, and New York to testify before a congressional committee. It's looking into how sanctuary city policies impact federal enforcement of immigration laws. Kentucky Congressman James Comer is also asking for documents related to the sanctuary city policies, but the issue may be over which documents they want.
As we continue to get a better understanding from the chair of the committee and members of the committee, which documents they wish for us to show up with.
The Justice Department is suing Chicago and the state of Illinois, saying the sanctuary city policy violates federal law. It is not clear if that lawsuit may keep the mayor from answering certain questions during that hearing.
Well, 70 Chicago neighbors are back home after building 4 homes in Ensenada, Mexico. The Homes of Hope program has built more than 7,000 homes in 24 countries for families that can't afford one. In Ensenada, working families are often earning less than $100 a week, and they live in homes made of scrap parts. They may be missing a roof or have no electricity. To receive a home, a family does have to meet certain criteria. They've got to own the land, be employed, and have kids. And those 20 by 20 homes are all built by volunteers and completed in 2 days, rain or shine. And our own Marissa Perlman was among this group that went down to build the homes. They built her 4th home alongside her family over the weekend.
And she said it was an amazing, amazing experience.
So awesome. I can't imagine how rewarding it is to put in like the blood, sweat, and tears to build a home on your own.
And then know you're actually giving someone a home. It's amazing. Well, next, menopause and how it affects your heart health. A doctor joins us live to explain the increased risk for women and steps for prevention. And in today's Jumpstart, we're at Goddess in the Grocer, a new location coming to Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. We'll take you inside there.
Well, we're not exactly talking about short sleeves weather when we look at this warming trend, but things are going to be feeling pretty nice, especially by the weekend. More on the warm up in your First Alert forecast.
February is Heart Health Month, a time to raise awareness about heart disease. It is the leading cause of death for women in the U.S. And today we're talking about the connection between menopause and the risk for cardiovascular disease. Joining me now is Dr. Monica Christmas, a menopause expert and gynecologist with U Chicago Medicine. Thanks so much for being with me this morning, Doctor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, we know, many of us, that all kinds of things change during menopause, but how are menopause and an increased risk for cardiovascular disease connected? It's honestly something I didn't learn about until recently.
Yeah, there's still a lot of research that needs to happen. But as you know, there are estrogen receptors all over our bodies. And the reason that menopause happens is that our ovaries stop making those reproductive hormones. And many areas of the body recognize it, including the heart. The vessels in the heart become stiffer, the muscle itself can become stiffer as well. And that can lead to some strain on our heart's ability to do the things that it does efficiently, which could certainly lead to heart disease or cardiovascular disease, as you've shared.
Yeah, okay, now I know research shows that women who reach menopause early, which is before age 45, are more at risk. So why is that?
Well, it's that much longer that you don't have those reproductive hormones. So somebody that goes through menopause at, say, age 35, the median age of menopause is age 51 and a half, 52. That's where most people reach the definition. And that happens because, or we define it as not having a period for a full year.
What exactly contributes to reaching menopause at an earlier age? I mean, is it, women are always worried about that or wondering, how does it happen?
Lots of different reasons. Sometimes we don't know. It can just be iatrogenic, meaning we don't actually have the cause for it. Certainly things like people that have really severe endometriosis and end up needing to undergo a surgical remedy for that and having their ovaries removed. Anybody that has to have radiation or chemotherapy may have some insult or injury to the ovaries where they stop functioning as efficiently as they should because of the treatment that they're receiving. But oftentimes there can be some other genetic things that happen, but many times we don't actually know why some people go through early menopause. So as you said, early menopause is earlier than age 45. Which happens, depending on what you read, about 3 to 5% of the affects about 3 to 5% of the population. And premature menopause happens before the age of 40, and that's about 1 to 3% of the population. As I said, that's that much longer that person's doesn't have estrogen that not only helps our heart be healthy, but it also impacts our bones, how our brains function as well.
All kinds of things. Here's the key question. What can women do to reduce their risk of cardiovascular disease, especially as the years go by?
Yeah. It's all the things that we preach to people all the time. It's having a regular exercise routine. The American Heart Association recommends at least 150 minutes of vigorous exercise per week, and you can break that up any way that you want. I like to think of it as I could do anything for 30 minutes every day. But it's really important that people recognize that even a little bit is better than nothing. So if all you got is 10 minutes per day, do the 10 minutes. Adhering to a healthy diet, such as like a Mediterranean diet, has been shown in numerous studies to not only help improve cardiovascular risk, but people that adhere to a Mediterranean-style diet have less diabetes, they have less cancer, they actually have less bone loss and less cognitive decline as well. Maintaining a healthy blood pressure, a healthy glucose control or sugar control in the body. All of those things are really healthy for us, but also just having good sleep quality as well, making sure that you're getting enough sleep. Not smoking is a huge one.
Yeah, right.
And really modifying your alcohol intake. There's not a lot that's really good about alcohol, but especially as we get older, women, we don't have as much of the enzyme that metabolizes alcohol. And so even drinking small amounts, we have higher concentrations in our bodies. And you will hear I get lots of patients that will say, I actually can't drink anymore after Christmas. I feel horrible, hungover. Is there something wrong?
All right. Well, Dr. Monica Christmas, all of this is really, really important information for women to know. And we thank you so much for sharing all of it with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, Laura, I'm going to toss it over to you now for a look ahead. Let's just look past this cold weather, shall we?
We're just going to forget about today, tomorrow, Friday, focus on Saturday, Sunday. How about that? That's when we're really going to feel the changes. Even today, we're really not seeing much of a movement with our temperatures. Yesterday, the high was 14. Today, we go to 15 degrees, and we lost the sunshine, too. We've got a little bit of filtered sun, not as bright and sunny like the past couple of days. Some flurries around here this afternoon. Tomorrow, a notable change. We're at least going to go up into the 20s for highs after another frigid morning. The weekend is when things will really start to thaw out and we'll jump above the freezing mark, which we have not seen in several days. 8 degrees right now, and it feels like -4 with a wind from the northwest at 8 miles per hour. So these chilly breezes coming in, reinforcing the cold air in place. It's 8 O'Hare, 9 Midway, 4 degrees out toward DeKalb, but it feels more like -7. -10 now, McHenry, Waukegan, and Aurora. So light wind chills pretty much for everyone below 0 degrees. Winter weather advisory. Let's talk about this real quick. Across LaPorte County, off toward the east into the north there, we've got lake effect snow that's going to be taking shape in that direction. We've had a little bit here this morning, but that's really going to kick in through the late day today into tonight. Several inches of snow is expected in that direction. May see a little flurry activity to the south here this afternoon, but that's our really only snow chance that we have here this week. We're going to be watching those temperatures climb through tomorrow, going into the weekend, and especially for next week. Tomorrow's high, 23 degrees. We get partly cloudy skies, breezy conditions, still have those harsh winds in from the northwest between 10 and 15. 7-day forecast, couple more frigid nights. Friday morning, 7 degrees, going to 26. Then we've got 15 Saturday morning and going to 32, high 30s on Sunday. And then next week is when we're really cooking. 44 for Monday and Tuesday. Small shower chance both days there. All right, let's go over to the First Alert Traffic Center on this midweek Wednesday. Hi, Chris.
You know that it's cooking when you're in the 40s. Wow, what a big difference that's going to be. It's going to be feeling good. Right now, as kind of a function of the warmer water of Lake Michigan and the cold air, we've got that lake effect snow that Laura's been talking about, and it's affecting roads getting into parts of Indiana and southwest lower Michigan. So we had a big crash there on the eastbound side of 94. We got a little slowdowns on the Indiana toll road. So let's take a look for our friends here by Michigan City. Lake effect snowfall, especially on the eastbound side. They've been plowing out there because they had lanes blocked for a little bit with a multi-vehicle crash past 421 right before you get into 20. If I remove all of that and kind of move out here, LaPorte County, Berrien County, Michigan, really starting to slow down with that snowfall. On the Illinois side of the line, westbound 80 is all jammed up coming out of Tinley Park past LaGrange Road. Right lane's blocked with a semi and a car that crashed. And the core expressways are still pretty backed up after a kind of an offset rush hour with everybody getting a late start after starting their cars up to let them warm up. Have a great day. Drive safe. Let's be nice to each other. Chris Habermill, CBS News Chicago.
Chris, thanks. Well, if you want to get out of the house but not spend time outside, you can maybe head to museum campus. Illinois residents can get into the Shedd Aquarium and the Field Museum for free today. But remember, those free tickets go quickly. You'll have to show your Illinois ID for both.
Well, the owner of the Goddess and Grocer is opening a new shop in the Gold Coast, and in today's Jumpstart, we are getting a preview.
Yeah, this new Gold Coast spot is the chain's 4th location in Chicago. Jackie Kostek joining us live there with a look inside the newest location. Hey, Jackie.
Dana and Audrina, good morning to you. Yes, the grand opening is happening officially tomorrow, but today is essentially a soft opening. So we have been seeing people come in all morning long and picking up a pastry or coffee, something for breakfast, all of that. Somebody's actually at the counter right now, but I actually have a birthday coming up next week, so I am eyeing the pastry counter. They always have croissants and muffins and cookies and cupcakes and full-on cakes, which is amazing. Cake pops as well. Look at how good all of those delicious treats look like. This is Alicia Dinatelli, who is the pastry chef, executive pastry chef here at the Goddess and the Grocer. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's been quite a run for you at the Goddess and Grocer. You started 18 years ago, which is almost the very beginning. Yep. When somebody comes to you with an idea, what can you make happen?
You know, I have a very, very talented group of girls,
Yes.
and we just love cake decorating.
Okay.
Right? We just love the idea that we can turn flour, butter, and sugar into your dream.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
We do custom cookies. We could put logos on for companies, your face, you know, anything. Like when we say anything you want, we could do anything you want.
I love it. By the way, this is producer Tom. I looked at this and I was like, who the heck is that? I'm sorry, Tom. Yeah, right. This is him. If you were wondering, because I was wondering, it's not you. It's the picture.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It just looks so different.
Right.
But anyway,
You clean up well. You clean
Tom
up
is
well.
like, what in the world? Okay, what are you going to whip up for us this morning?
Okay, so today is actually a little nod to my daughter.
Okay.
She just has her heart set on a unicorn cake for her birthday.
As so many little girls do.
Yes,
How old
yes.
is she?
She is going to be 6.
Okay.
She's 5, and every night she's scrolling, looking at cakes, and she says, "Mommy, you can make anything, right?" I said, "Yes, of course I can."
Right.
You know,
For a lot of
yeah.
moms, that's not actually true. With you, yes, she is lucky enough to have a pastry chef as a mom. So this is sort of the base, right?
Yeah, so this is our base. I'm going to start the hair.
Okay.
I like to start it with white, just to give it some movement. You know, you don't want like a flat-haired unicorn.
No,
you know?
you do not. Are you actually going to take this cake back to your daughter, by the way?
You know,
a little early for her birthday in June?
because then it won't be as special. So I'm going to have to hide it from her.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then we have all the different colors. You could do whatever color you want. So, you know, I've done Harry Potter themed unicorn cakes, you know, so we switch up the colors, do a little bit different on the decoration, and anything, like I said, anything you want.
If somebody is thinking they want something else custom rather than just a cake, can you do cupcakes, all of the different
yes, we
cookies?
do
I guess cookies right there.
Yes, we do tons of cupcakes, tons of cookies, cake pops, baby showers, weddings, you know, you name it. We are getting hit with orders all the time.
You name it, the orders are coming in. They can do just about anything. Alicia, thank you so much for your time this morning. Check out this cake too. We've been talking to Debbie, the goddess herself, all morning long. We know she rocks. She used to be a caterer for famous musicians and rock bands, so this is in honor of her. Dana, Audrina, brand new location of the Goddess and the Grocer, now open at the Gold Coast. Back to you.
That is some beautiful stuff, but where is my face cookie? Jackie, where's my face cookie? And Laura?
I know! I know, it's not my fault, I promise. I know. We need the whole team. We need the whole team. I know.
Just
I'll
kidding.
send a complaint somewhere. Yeah, no, I know.
Thanks, Jackie.
Well, next, an adorable honor for our very own Jermont Terry. Hear from the 9-year-old boy who decided to dress up as our colleague for Black History Month.
All right, we're warming things up after today. A high of 15 degrees, 20s through Thursday, Friday. We go to freezing on Saturday, upper 30s on Sunday, 44 Monday, Tuesday. Aside from a little flurry activity here this afternoon, no big snows, a little rain next week.
All right, and before we go, we want to show you a Black History Month celebration at a local school in Chicago Heights that really caught our eye. Take a look.
I'm Jermont Terry from CBS.
What's up, man? I love that.
That's right. Our very own Jermont Terry got his own mini-me. This was at Barack Obama School of Leadership in STEM. 9-year-old Aiden Talbert decided to dress up as Jermont for the event to honor Black people in the arts, sciences, and media. And Jermont noticed one very specific detail about Aiden's outfit.
You're wearing a hat. What's up with the hat?
I've seen pictures of you wearing hats, so just thought about it and did it.
And hats are cool, right?
Yeah.
You could also bring some style while you're keeping everyone informed.
Mm-hmm.
He is, if you haven't seen Jermont on our 10 o'clock news, he is like a staple when it comes to the hats, the side tilt, all of that. And students in Aiden also got to play reporter, so they asked questions to a panel, and it was all about Black heroes like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Barack Obama, Simone Biles. Teachers say they want kids to not just understand history, but also learn that they can become a part of it themselves.
They don't have to just be bystanders.
I know,
Right.
they're like our future history makers.
That's right.
I love it.
Absolutely, so do I. All right, thanks everyone for joining us here on the news at 9. Your local news continues right here on the stream.
Yep, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.